I handed three women a limitless credit card, told them there were no rules, then stepped back to see who they really were. 3 days later, the receipts came in, and what my maid bought for $87 hit me harder than the diamond yacht party and the five-star mixers combined. Here's the ugly question that started it all. What do you do with freedom when nobody is watching? My name's Peter, and on paper I had the life people send to their group chat, with a must-be-nice caption. Tech kid turned security mogul magazine covers a penthouse so high the city looked like a map, the kind of glass that makes sunrise feel like a private show. But the rooms were colder than they looked, and the applause never followed me home. I was tired, not the kind a nap fixes, but the kind that sits behind your ribs like a weight. Every congratulations came with a wish list tucked inside it. Every smile had that split-second calculation in the eyes. You know what I mean. Even love started to sound like a contract suite on the surface, fine print underneath. There were 3 women in my orbit then, which sounds like a flex, but it was really a mirror. Lana was my girlfriend. Platinum hair, platinum life. A talent for walking into a room and turning gravity her way. If attention were oxygen, she could live forever. Stella was my assistant, razor sharp, punctual down to the minute, a storm in heels who could land 3 planes, close a deal, and fix a PR fire before lunch. And then there was Mirabel, my maid. Quiet, steady hands, the kind of presence that keeps a house breathing. She once refused when I offered to pay for her mother's surgery. "It's not your responsibility, sir, I'll manage." And I had nowhere to file that kind of dignity in a world built on upgrades. One night in my study, the only room that still felt like me, shelves of philosophy and busted spine paperbacks, my parents smiling from a frame. I set 3 black cards on a velvet pad. No logo, no limit, no instructions. This wasn't a prank, I told myself, this was clarity. Because when you remove the rules, the real you comes out. If it were you, what would you do first? Which store, which number, which name would light up your phone? I gave Lana hers at the helipad because that was our grammar. Wind in the hair engines, humming city, glittering like jewelry. She hugged me like cameras were rolling. "This is exactly what I needed," she said, already dialing a friend as the SUV door swung shut. She didn't ask why. Small thing, right? Except it wasn't. Stella got hers in my office. Blink, smile, thank you fingers moving before the door closed. She made even gratitude look efficient. And Mirabel found hers on the kitchen counter beside a list that said, "Polished spoons, water rosemary." She walked the envelope to my study like it might be a mistake. "I think this was left here by accident," she said, eyes down, voice soft but steady. "No mistake," I told her, 3 days, spend it. How you want, do something just for you. "My needs are met," she said, like that was a normal sentence in my house. "Go live a little," I said. She nodded, not convinced, just respectful, and left with the card still unopened. I called my head of security, James. "Purchases and locations," I said. "No private rooms, no audio, just facts." He set up hourly summaries. I poured a small scotch and stared out at a city that would have sold its soul for the right price, and wondered if I already had. Do you think that's fair? To watch like that, even if you say it's just data. Day 1, the receipts started singing. Lana opened her tour at the Gilded Swan, a boutique where they offer champagne like it's hydration. Tried on 3 dresses and bought 5 because who counts when there are unlimited decimals? Later at Lave, a rooftop where the silverware shines like mirrors, and the view makes the bill go down easier. She laughed while her friend mocked a waiter's accent, filmed it, hashtagged it, and moved on. $2,000 for lunch, $5,000 for shoes, $6,000 for a diamond anklet that would live in a drawer. By evening, she'd booked a yacht. White party babe, 50 people. and never once asked if I was free, never once said thank you, just tagged me in a story. That's a special kind of silence. Stella's day looked like strategy. Spa at 8, stylist at 10, fitting at noon, then the members-only rooftop with 3 senior execs from companies sniffing around my firm. No waste, no glitter, just momentum. Her post on LinkedIn that night, "Success is about the rooms you walk into and who's waiting at the table," landed with an ache I didn't have a word for because I knew which name she was trading on to get that seat. Mine. And then there was Mirabel. $87 at a corner market. Rice beans, olive oil, a loaf of bread, 2 boxes of formula diapers, and a small bouquet of daisies. She walked a few blocks to a hospital and quietly paid a neighbor's chemo bill. No selfie, no speech. She bought 4 takeout meals, handed them to men on 8th Street, who looked like the world had forgotten their names. She stopped by the old stone orphanage and left art supplies and fruit on a peeling counter, like hope could be delivered by hand. Less than 1% of the card. More than I could carry in my chest. Day 2, the lines got darker. Lana's yacht bloomed into a performance. White outfits, music loud enough to feel expensive captions like "blessed" and "spoiled" with the humility of a parade. Stella crafted a second day like a chessboard. More mixers, more handshakes, introductions she implied I'd made. And Mirabel walked back to the orphanage with books and patience, then home with daisies in a paper wrap. Wait. I know what you're thinking. It's obvious who the hero is. That's what I thought too. That's where I was wrong. I set the dining room for 6 and invited only 3. Long walnut table crystal that hums if you run a wet finger around the rim, candles turning gold into warmth. Lana arrived in red, bored unless there was a camera. Stella in black with a silver brooch sharp as a thesis. Mirabel in a cream blouse and a floral skirt that said, "I don't belong here," and somehow made the room kinder. I sat at the head without a tie because I wanted to breathe, and I put 1 extra chair at the far end, a mirror that said someone was missing, and maybe that someone was me. "What's the occasion?" Lana asked, twirling her glass like an accessory. "We're celebrating honesty," I said. She smirked. "Sounds serious." It was. I told them about the cards and the watching and the why. Not in a courtroom voice, just the simple version I could live with. Lana's smile cracked first. Stella's eyes narrowed next. Mirabel went still like a deer that wants to trust the hand and can't. "You tracked us," Stella said. I observed, I answered, which isn't different enough to matter. "You told me to enjoy myself," Lana snapped. "Now you want to grade me for it." "You spent $86,000 in 3 days," I said. "Steady, you tipped a valet $500 and called him cute for a peasant. You laughed when your friend mocked a waitress, and you never once asked me anything." She stood up so fast the chair stuttered. "You're sick," she said. "No," I said, and it surprised me how calm it came out. "I'm done being blind." She waited for an apology that I couldn't give, then walked out, heels cracking on the marble like a gavel. Stella leaned back, gathered, then cut clean. "So ambition is a crime now." "No," I said, "but using my name as a step stool while prepping your exit plan is a problem." "I gave you 5 years," she said, voice tight. "I cleaned up your messes. I saved you from your boredom and their claws." She wasn't lying, but the truth was tilted. "I'm grateful," I said. "Gratitude just isn't a leash." She looked at Mirabel. The quick surgical glance people use when they need a villain they can beat. "So she's the saint," she said, "the maid with the golden heart. Are we doing Cinderella?" "Stella," I started. "No," she said, standing, smoothing a sleeve. "Good luck with your experiment." The door closed softly, and still it sounded like a verdict. It was just me and Mirabel, and a candle that had melted into a small lake of wax. "I'm sorry you had to be part of that," I told her. She stared at her hands. "I thought maybe I was being let go," she said so quietly, the room seemed to lean in to hear. "This isn't an ending," I said, and for once I knew I was telling the truth. Pattern interrupt. Here's the twist. I thought I was testing them, but really I was the one on trial. Money can turn curiosity into control so quietly, you'll swear it's wisdom. I'd been measuring love in spreadsheets and calling it discernment. That night I realized the person wearing the mask had my face. I walked down the hall to the small room she called hers. No marble, no statement pieces, just a bookshelf full of worn novels, a photo of a woman I guessed was her mother, daisies in a cheap glass vase like sunlight in water. "You keep it beautiful in here," I said. "It's the only space that's really mine," she answered. I told her I was sorry, not performative, not PR, for pulling her into my fear and calling it a study for watching good people like they were problems to be solved. "You're surrounded by people who want what you have, not who you are," she said. "That must be exhausting." I laughed because no one had ever said it that plain. "Why didn't you use the card for yourself?" I asked. She took a breath. "I wanted to," she said. I imagined a dress I didn't have to explain. Then I walked past the grocery store and remembered my neighbor's daughter skipping meals so her mom could pay for chemo, and I saw an old man with a sign that said, "I just want to be warm tonight." And I thought, if this card disappears tomorrow, what do I want to remember? That I bought a dress, or that somebody mattered because I was there? Yeah, that happened. I felt something shift inside like a door unlatched. "No one's ever told me I mattered," I said, and it sounded strange in my mouth. "Only what I own or what I can fix." She didn't fill the silence. She just let it be. "Why are you really here?" she asked. "Because I'm tired of being a performance," I said. "And when I look at you, I see peace, I see honesty. I see someone who doesn't want anything from me except maybe to be seen back." "I'm afraid," she said, "I don't know your world." "Good," I said, "my world hasn't made me feel anything real in a long time. We didn't touch. We didn't need to." The room softened like a held breath, finally exhaled. Stick around because what happened next will blow your mind. The investor luncheon wasn't a test. Not this time. It was an invitation. I asked her to come with me, not on my arm like decoration, but at my side like bandwidth, and she wore a navy blazer that fit the person she was already becoming. We walked in without security because I wanted to feel the room flinch. And it did. The quick glances, the polite nods, the whispered question marks. "Keep your head high," I said. "You don't owe anyone here anything." They asked what she did, and she told them, not with charity voice or the buzzwords that win grants, but like you show someone where the exit is in a crowded space. Literacy programs, after-school meals, why the numbers matter, because the names matter first. People listened because conviction has a tone money can't fake. In the car home, she said I was terrified. "You didn't show it," I said, and reached for her hand without planning to, and it felt like an answer I'd been looking for since the day the applause began. I scaled the household back, not with punishment, with purpose. Fewer staff, better hours, real roles. We added a second reading chair to the study, a messy grocery list magneted to the fridge, a corner in the garden, where I tried to learn the difference between basil and mint, and got it wrong with comic regularity. I hired an advisor for her, not to change her, to equip her. Basic accounting leadership, the kind of spreadsheets that turn kindness into scale. She moved from folding laundry at a shelter to signing off on budgets, hiring staff, building programs that fit the bodies they were designed for. And every Thursday, she still went to the old orphanage, now painted fresh and full of kid noise, with the same quiet attention as the day she carried in a sack of fruit. The media, of course, tried to make a meal of us. Billionaire leaves heiress for maid. Cinderella or social climber. We starved the headlines. No interviews, no counter-narrative. And they got bored and found a new sparkler to chase. At home, we built a long table with mismatched chairs, neighbors and former employees and kids from the foundation, eating spaghetti and telling stories. And I sat cross-legged on a rug. I used to treat like a museum piece wearing an old college hoodie, watching a life grow around me that didn't need my money to breathe. Now here's where I'm going to poke the beehive a little. Was I wrong to do the test? Is giving someone a limitless card and then watching what they do a violation, even if you say it's just numbers? Some of you are shaking your heads right now, and I hear you. It was control dressed like curiosity. But what would you do if every answer you got in your life was wearing makeup? When a yes is really a maybe and a thank you is really an invoice. If it were you, what would you have done? Would you rather live a lie that feels polite or a truth that bruises first and heals after? Here's what I've learned, and I'm not selling it as a moral, just a page from my book. What you do with freedom is your biography in a paragraph. Lana wasn't evil. She was honest in the only language she trusted attention, and that's its own kind of prison. Stella wasn't a villain either. She was survival sharpened into strategy. And maybe I could have built a place where her loyalty didn't have to dress up as ambition. And me, I'd been measuring love in deliverables, calling my fear due diligence, spending my power like a shield instead of a tool. That's on me. The part that broke me and rebuilt me was simple. Mirabelle with a card that could have changed her closet, her address, her resume, bought groceries and daisies, and the feeling a neighbor gets when a bill stops crushing their chest. And when I asked why, she said, "Because if it disappears tomorrow, I want to remember that someone mattered. I used to want to be remembered for an empire. Now I want to be remembered by the person I chose to build with." Our daughter asks for a story at bedtime, not from a book, from a life. And we tell her about a man who had everything and gave away control to find what mattered, and a woman who didn't have much and gave what she could until a house turned into a home. So here's the part where I hand the mic to you. Was I justified, or did I cross a line that money makes too easy to cross? Where's the border between accountability and surveillance, between protecting your heart and manipulating people to prove a point? Have you ever been on either side of that? The one being watched or the one doing the watching? And what did it do to you? Do you think that's fair? Tell me. If this story hit you somewhere you didn't expect, stick around. Like the video so the algorithm doesn't bury it, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next, and share this with the one person who would know exactly what they'd buy on day one, and the person who needs to hear that turning beats managing. Drop your take in the comments. Argue, agree, push back, tell your version. Because maybe the point isn't the test at all. Maybe it's what we do with the truth once it shows up.